Well, hey there, everybody. How you doing? It's a what is it? Saturday afternoon. I was going to say Sunday. Kind of feels like a Sunday, but I had a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I realized it's been a few days since I made a video, and actually, over the past 2 days, I've sat down in front of the camera several times and thought, okay, I'm going to make a video talking about this, and then I just can't get the vibe. I just not feeling it, or maybe I figure it's not worth talking about. But I have several different things that I wanted to talk about. Everything from the dumbing down of society and whether we're actually just more aware, and several different things, as well as a video about morals and whether stealing is a bad thing. And you know, anyway, before I make that, I thought that I would get my brain and my mouth flowing by talking about music a little bit. Um, I love music. To me, it's like my it's my bread and butter, my heart and soul. It's everything. Not everything. I mean, family. There's a list of these things that is people find important in a society. All these different studies that have been done. But that's for later. I won't get into that. I'm already getting off track. Last night I went to see Shpongle at the Crystal Ballroom, and that was pretty cool. I'd never seen Shpongle. I always wanted to see him play, and or DJ, whatever you want to call it. But there were three opening bands, so we showed up a little ways into it. I really wanted to see Kalia Scintilla, which is a tribal style DJ. And this EDM, whether you call it electronic music, whatever your title for it is, basically anytime you have a DJ or even a DJ with some live performers, for example, Beats Antique, they're phenomenal. And they have a belly dancer and then they play instruments and whatnot. But it it's merged electronic music with classical rock and a variety of other types that I enjoy. And since my generation is now in charge of a lot of these, let's just say there's a lot of older DJs now that went through the 80s and 90s, so they're sampling a lot of these older tracks and ideas, and some of these beats just hit. I mean, there's some DJs I just stand there and go, God, is this over yet? I mean, they suck. Like one of the guys last night was just playing this garbage. It sounded like something I'd hear on some background YouTube video or something. But then as soon as Kalia comes up, you just know. It's just boom, it hits deep, it's got bass. The thing is, though, electronic music wasn't really a huge part of my life as far as live performances until recent years, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, when I went to the regional Burning Man, which is Soak. Uh, I've been going every year for the last 10 years, but I've missed last year because I couldn't get a ticket, and it was a whole conundrum. I missed it, but electronic music is just part of my, enjoyment. Last night we went to see Shpongle because I bought those tickets a long time ago. I wanted to go, had to go. And tonight we're actually going to another concert. We don't usually do back-to-back shows, but this is a smaller show, and it's only like a $20 ticket, and it's at the Aladdin Theater in Portland. And it's the Jerry Garcia Birthday Band. And they're a local band here in the Portland area that, if I were to call them a Grateful Dead tribute band, that would be doing a disservice to what they actually bring to the table. They're very innovative, and their jams are deep and interesting and complex. And tonight, they're doing a tribute to Live Dead. Live Dead was a live performance in 1969, so it's the 50-year anniversary. And so they're playing, I believe they're playing the whole album, I'm not sure, but the album was really a live show at, I think it was at the Fillmore Auditorium. But anyhow, in 1969, Dead shows are always amazing, and there's a phenomenal Dark Star in there, and only Deadheads know what I'm talking about, but Dark Star is like, a phenomenal song. That's the only way I can describe it. It's so beautiful, mysterious, and rich. And that's really what it is about music. It's one of those things that can make you happy and make other people happy, and it helps us come together as a tribe. And so many different age groups at a Dead show. It's amazing. You've got these 16-year-old kids running around with tie-dyes on, and then you've got these 75, 80-year-old, geriatric people with walkers and stuff that have been going to see shows for 50 years. Because if you're not a Deadhead, you don't understand, and that's the beauty, and that's why I mentioned it first. The electronic music scene has a completely different group of people, but a lot of those same people are also love to go to festivals and listen to there are a lot of jam bands out there, and I'm not going to say I'm a jam band guy. I'm not just like, oh, it's a jam band. They have to be good, and there's very few. I love the Dead, and I love Fish, but it took me years to like Fish. And going to a Fish concert is something like you'll never experience that with anyone else. The glow sticks, the whole feel, and yeah, there's a lot of glow sticks thrown at Fish shows, and the audience knows when to throw them, at which parts and which songs. It's become kind of a thing. I've always seen it as kind of a waste of resources, throwing all that plastic around and then throwing it in the garbage, and that's one of the things that makes it kind of the humor of it. That's what we do as humans. There's so much waste at a concert in general, just people getting there and leaving, that glow sticks are the smallest of our worries, and it kind of puts it in perspective. But every different genre, every different, they all have their own types of fans and their own groups, but some of these deadheads follow a lot of these other bands. I don't really care for bluegrass, and like I tell people, I don't like blues. I'm not going to say I don't like it. I should say I don't listen to blues. And I love blues-based music, rock, everything we listen to is based on blues, tons of blues progressions, but I'll tell you why. It's because to me it's too predictable. And that's what a lot of people like, because a certain type of person wants a predictable song, a predictable pattern. When even if you haven't heard the song before and you understand a 12 bar, okay, this is gonna come next. It's great for jamming. You can just sit with a group of people, somebody plays a chord, boom, everybody knows where they're at and they fall in line. And that kind of led into more experimental stuff like in jazz and then in jam bands like Fish, which Fish were all musical geniuses, if you will. I mean, they were all students of music, in college, but they've come so far. I mean, they've been around for a long time. What, 30 years now? 35, maybe longer. I mean, they are a great example of what happens when you let people get a hold of some instruments and just kind of go off on their own with a musical ear, but also an openness. And I like it when people leave the norm, because that's what life is. It's just changing and adjusting. And maybe that's why I like so many different types of music, because I enjoy interacting with all the different people, meeting people. It's the weirdest thing, because I was standing in line, or walking up to the line last night. I went up to the will call to get my tickets, and then I said, well, we'll just walk around the block. And I got like 10 feet away from the will call, and there's this younger guy. He's like, Carpo? And whenever I hear that, it's either, okay, of course, my name being Josh, I still introduce myself as Carpo, because everywhere I go there's another Josh. So I started using it at like concerts and festivals, because it got confusing, because we always traveled or met up with Joshes. And it was my nickname since the early 90s, from a dice game called Zonk. 10,000 basically. It's based on the game 10,000, but you take bong hits every 1,000 points. We are supposed to pick a name for ourselves, and the first thing that comes to mind was the rule. And so Carpo came out. And since then, it's been an interesting, using that. It's a strange name. It's also a moon of Jupiter, which was named way after me. So I was like, In Latin, it means to seize or grab hold of. And it just stuck. So when somebody says Carpo, my first thought is like, if I don't know them, shit, do they know me from YouTube? Because that's really weird. I've only met, I think, 3 people in the last 10 years who recognized me from my videos. But usually they might be local and would expect to maybe see me. A lot of people don't even know I'm from the Portland area. This kid was from Illinois. He said he'd watched my videos for out there, and then he just moved out here like 8 months ago. It was really cool to meet a younger dude, probably in his 20s, really nice demeanor, really, really cool. It's so cool to meet somebody who I don't have to explain who I am, if that makes sense, or like define like where I'm at. People who, if I meet somebody and they watch my videos, they probably know more about me than somebody who I've known for a long time who I don't really talk this. It's kind of like my journal. So anyway, if you're out there, and I remembered his name because I'm horrible with names, and his name was Dalton, and I remembered it because I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure I remember names. So I thought, how do you remember Dalton? And I thought, okay, ton. Okay, and I pictured a ton of dolls, just a huge stack of like dolls. And I was like, woke up this morning and remembered it. Memory's funny like that. And we only remember the things we really want to remember. And I would like to say, before I go, on the note of music, Uh, when you go to a concert, your serotonin can be flowing. Serotonin is as well as oxytocin most likely, but you can bond to not just people, but to music and to particular songs, especially if you've been to a live show and you happen to have taken something, perhaps MDMA or something similar, which can actually enhance those emotions and that serotonin and really make you bond with an idea. I mean, I've fallen in love with bands after hearing them at a show like that, or songs that I didn't know. And so I think that's an important, valuable lesson for us to learn, that we can, use music as a catalyst to feel good. It's like a friend. So those are my thoughts on music, and I'd love to hear yours. And God, it's cold out here. That's why I'm wearing the wolf hat. Wolfpack Master. Thanks for coming along, and I will talk to you very soon. Maybe I'll make another video now. But yeah, I'm going to go enjoy that show tonight and hear Live Dead live 50 years later. Peace out.